Hello and welcome to Ironside Sheets. Today we're going to be talking about Ernest Hemingway's The Old Man and the Seas, and this is the untamed and uncut version. Because if you see me doing stuff like this, it's because I'm extremely sweaty. And you may be thinking, Sir Ironside Sheets, why? Why are you so sweaty? Why not give yourself some time and allow yourself to cool down and not sweat? Or are you just that out of shape? And I tell you this, I'm not that out of shape, thank goodness. I actually pay enough attention to my health and fitness. But the thing is that I felt alive, so we're doing it now. Anyway, Old Man in the Sea. I regret reading this book for one reason alone. The audiobook was read by Donald Sutherland. Now, if you don't know who Donald Sutherland is, you may know him from the Hunger Games trilogy. He is President Snow in the movies. And not that I like the first two movies, they sucked. But I did like President Snow, or Donald Sutherland as President Snow, just enough to remember who he is. And now he's also, if you haven't read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about it. Not a huge spoiler. It's all about President Snow before he was President Snow. So I read that whole thing, and I was picturing like a younger Donald Sutherland, kind of. Anyway, so that's the one regret I have. But The Old Man and the Sea is actually a really good book, and though I don't like its writing style, I don't like Old English because even though I had a post college reading level by the time I was in seventh grade, I do not like Old English, and I do not like trying to read Old English or however this is written. I don't, however it's written. You want to call it whatever dialect you want to call it. But here's the idea of the story. An old man, duh, his name is Santiago, is visited by a younger boy who he had trained to be a fisherman. That they live in a port town, so that's what it is. And I believe they live somewhere in Spain, if I'm not mistaken, because he uses Spanish words several times throughout the book. But the boy, his parents don't want him working with Santiago anymore because Santiago seems to be very, very unlucky. He's gone 80 plus days without catching a fish. Understandable. Your kid's not bringing in money, and child labor is very important at this point in time. So, kid's not bringing in money, might as well move him over. And the boy really wants to work with Santiago. He likes him, loves him, kind of as a second father. But unfortunately, that's how it's going. But he's gone with a ship that is a lot more prosperous, and it's working out well for him. Santiago is just living his life. He's a widower. So no wife, he has no children, and life is pretty boring. He doesn't even like to eat anymore, really, though he is a fan of baseball. That's like the one thing that, besides the boy, that keeps him going. And as he's going through his day, the boy is talking to him and just trying to keep them going, keep the conversation going as you would with someone who's probably not 100% there socially. And Santiago goes through his day, then he goes to bed. Now, this is at a point in time that we may not understand, but Santiago goes and visits the boy in his home while everyone's asleep. And it's weird, but I guess at the time it wasn't. And I'm saying and a lot. And Santiago wakes him up to get because the boy promised to help him set up for the day. And he does. He helps Santiago, but then he has his own work. So the boy goes his way, Santiago goes his. Santiago's out on the sea for quite a while. He's not catching anything. Then he manages to catch a couple of flying fish. And it works out well for him. They provide food. Apparently he's okay with eating raw fish. Sushi, sashimi, right? He eats it, he's gaining his strength, and then he hooks a powerful fish. And he's got tons of line. He's working. He's putting a tiny bit of resistance on the line using nothing but his finger and his index finger and thumb. He's just putting pressure. But this fish is powerful, and it does not stop going. It's just chugging along, charging through the water, and for hours. And he's losing a ton of line, and he's waiting for it to surface because he knows that once the fish has surfaced once, jumped out of the water, it's over. It's tiring out. It's trying to escape whatever's holding onto it. But he's just holding it, and for hours he's just shifting back and forth trying to make sure he doesn't rip open his hands, which he eventually does. Hours go by. Into the night, he's still going. And Santiago is an expert fisherman, and what he manages to do is catch other fish along the way, and dolphin, which he also calls fish. I'm guessing Ernest Hemingway just either didn't care, didn't pay attention, or just tried to make it a part of the character that anything that came from the sea was a fish. Fair enough. So, Santiago continues, and he's eating along the way. He must eat because it's going on so long, and the fish has not stopped. It's about 2 days that Santiago is out on the water before anything happens, and that's not true. Anything major happens. He does get the fish to surface once, and it was after around 24 hours, and the fish was still going, and it continued, didn't surface for quite some time. But Santiago, knowing that his body was about to give out, managed to reel it in, and he is a good fisherman, and because he explains the problems that he's having along the way. Like, one, he got a cramp in his left hand, called it a traitor on like 10 different occasions. But at the very beginning, when he first hooks the fish, he talks about how he could just kill the fish if he's lucky, because the fish took the bait and potentially swallowed it. If the fish actually swallowed it, then there's a good chance that it would snake its way into its body, and if he pulled it just right, he could just rip open its heart and it would be dead, and it'd be an easy catch. If not, then it's still in the side of its mouth, and if he's not careful, he could rip through the mouth and the fish would keep going. It's so big that the little line of the hook would hurt it, but not too badly. Sure enough, he figures out over time that it's not in there. It's not in the fish's body. It's still in its mouth. And he knows this because he tugs on the line. The fish barely feels it, doesn't even stop moving. And so he's afraid that if he continues to rip through, it's just going to pull out, and then there's no point. It's a 24-hour journey where he's being tugged along. Even the little bit of resistance he's putting onto the line is actually enough over time to pull him forward. And that's at first. Then second, he has to actually put the line strapped to his oars and hook to his boat, so that way he can rest for a couple of hours. Yeah, Santiago manages to cheat his way through and rests while the fish does not. And if you haven't read this book, well, it's by Ernest Hemingway, and if it's out there. Again, I use Scribd for my audiobooks, not sponsored. I just think they're awesome. Or awesome enough to get me going through, but it's an old book. If I'm giving you a whole bunch of spoilers, sorry. Now, Old Man in the Sea, worth the read. I'm not going to tell you how it ends because I think it's worth reading, but really and truly, I liked it. It is 127 pages. It takes 2 hours in the audiobook, probably a little bit more, but worth the read if you haven't. And if you like this video, leave a like. If you think someone else will like it, share it. And if you like enough of my content to continue coming back after this one, please subscribe. I'll appreciate it. So thank you. Have a great day. And until next time, y'all. Bye.